All right. Shalom, Israel. Shalom. Most High bless. All praises to Yahweh Yahawashi. Shabbat Shalom. Welcome, FOPE Friday Night Flame. Tonight's class will be on Genesis 49, breaking down the 12 tribes. So, um, let's get it started. Okay.
Shalom, 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 Israel. This Qanath, Howard Abun, Yasha Allah. We're going to be going over a few things. We want you to understand this may be a 3 to 4 part series. Breaking down 4 tribes on each part. We may not break down 4 or 3. We're going to go and just give you a understanding how we're leading up to that. And the brother Yehuda is going to explain why we're going to start out first. And this first class is very important, so you'll be able to get an understanding on what's leading up to what. Because you missed this first one, you may get lost throughout the rest. You understand? And the first one may be a little confusing, but just hold on tight, because we're here to let you know that 12 tribe chart is completely off. You know, somebody blinking with the left eye don't mean they Gad, or somebody got a 1 foot long and the other don't mean they Judah. You know, so all this stuff is straight asinine. So
exactly.
Yehuda, go ahead and start it out.
All right, grace and peace. This is your brother Yehuda, and like Qanath said, what we're going to do, we're going to go through Genesis 49 and Deuteronomy, the 33rd chapter, right? And we're going to see if we can get a little bit more understanding dealing with the blessings and the curses of Jacob's sons, or 12 sons, right? So what we're going to do first, we're going to Genesis 49, right? Genesis 49, and we're going to start at verse 1.
God.
Genesis 49 and verse 1.
And I'm really going to be Kahan and a few other brothers will come on and read tonight. I'm going to read also, but Kahan going to be doing a lot of reading for us.
Okay.
All right.
Somebody want to read that?
Yeah, somebody was going to come in later. Like, remember I told you, if you want somebody to hold the scripture while somebody else get another one to read, they do it like,
Okay. All right, well, let's begin. Let's begin. So this is Genesis 49 chapter, verse 1. Jacob prophecy concerning his sons, right? And it says, and Jacob called unto his sons and said, gather yourselves together, that I may tell you, right, that which shall befall you in the last days. Now, where are my glasses at? I'll get them later. In the last days, right? So, I've seen many people say, well, the last days is speaking about this day and time, in our time, right? Right, Qanath?
Come.
Right. You see many brothers say, when they say the last days, it's talking about in our day and time. No, it's not. Right? Jacob was not talking about in our day and time. So now, what I want to do is go inside this book here, this is the parallel Bible, and let me give you quickly 2 more translations, right? This is from the New International Bible, the same verse, Genesis 49, verse 1. And Jacob called unto his sons and said, gather around so I can tell you what will happen. Okay, what will happen to you in the days to come. The days to come doesn't necessarily mean it's talking about in our day and time, right? Now, this is the Living Bible. Say the same thing. That I will tell you what is going to happen to you in the days to come. The Revised Standard Version, right? That I may tell you what shall befall you in the days to come, right? So now what I want to do is let's go to Deuteronomy 33rd chapter. Because we're dealing with when Jacob says, gather yourselves together, that I may tell you which shall befall you in the last days. So now let's go to Deuteronomy, the 33rd chapter, right? Let me get there myself. In fact, when you get there, you can read Deuteronomy 33rd chapter and read verse 1. Whoever get there first doesn't matter.
Oh, I can get you ready for me to read it now?
Yeah, whenever you get there. Yep.
This is the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 33, and verse 1. And it reads on this wise. And this is the blessing wherewith Moses, the man of God, blessed the children of Israel before his death. Verse 2. And he said,
In fact, no. Let's stay, you can stop right there. So it says, and this is the blessing with Moses, the man of God, blessed the children of Israel before his death. Right now, let's go to Deuteronomy, the 31st chapter. Let's jump back. Deuteronomy, the 31st chapter. And when you get there, right, read verses 28 and 29.
God, this is the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 31, verses 28 and 29. And it reads on this wise, gather unto me all the elders of your tribes and your officers, that I may speak these words in their ear, and call heaven and earth to record against them. For I know that after my death ye will utterly corrupt yourselves. And
he says, let me stop you there. Let me stop you. He says, for I know that after my death ye will utterly corrupt yourselves. Now keep that in mind, right? Continue.
Hey, Kahan, pick your voice up a little bit. Ak, you sound real low.
Oh, Con. Can you hear me now? Better?
We can hear you. You just sound low, like your volume down or something.
Con, let me see if I can adjust that. I'm working off my iPad right here. I'm a transition over to my laptop in a minute. It should be a little better. But verse 29.
Right.
For I know that after my death you will utterly corrupt yourselves and turn aside from the way which I have commanded you, and evil will befall you in the latter days. Because
Stop right there. He says, I know. See, this is how Moses knew that the children of Israel is going to do wickedness, right? He says, I know after my death that ye will utterly corrupt yourselves in the latter days. Now I have a question, right? After Moses died, right? Did the children corrupt themselves after he died? Yes or no?
Con, yes.
They did evil after he died, correct?
Yes. Con.
Right. So he says, I know after I die that you will utterly corrupt yourselves in the latter days. Doesn't mean our day and time. In fact, let's go to Joshua 24. The book of Joshua 24. So Moses just told them, he said, I know after I die, because you hard-headed, and you're going to corrupt yourselves in the latter days. Let's go to Joshua 24, right? And let's start at verse 19.
God, this is the book of Joshua, chapter 24, and verse 19. And Joshua said unto the people, ye cannot serve the Lord, for he is an holy God. He is a jealous God. He will not forgive your transgressions nor your sins.
So Joshua said right here, I know, he says that you cannot serve the Lord. Meaning you cannot keep all of the 613 laws of Moses, right? He said, I know you can't do it. There's no way possible. Now read verses 21 and 22.
God, verse 21. And the people said unto Joshua, nay, but we will serve the Lord. Verse 22.
Right.
And Joshua said unto the people, ye are witnesses against yourselves that ye have chosen you, the Lord, to serve him. And they said, we are witnesses.
Now you see that? So first Moses said, I know after I die, you will corrupt yourselves in the latter days, right? And then Joshua said that you cannot serve the Lord. He said you can't keep the laws of the laws of Moses. He said, I know that you're going to corrupt yourselves, right? Now watch this here. Let's go to Judges chapter 2 and read verse 11.
God, this is the book of Judges, chapter 2, and verse 11.
Yep.
And the children of Israel did evil in the sight of the Lord and served Baalim.
You see that? So Joshua said that you can't serve the Lord, right? And when you go back to Joshua 24 and verse 1, right? They said nay. The people said nay, but we will serve the Lord. And then Joshua said unto them, ye are witnesses against yourselves that ye have chosen you the Lord to serve him. And they said, we are witnesses. So when you go right here to the book of Judges, already they doing evil. So when Moses said, I know that you will corrupt yourselves in the latter days, this is what he's talking about right here. Meaning a later date. Right? A later date. So when Jacob says, gather yourselves together that I may tell you what shall befall you in the latter days, he was talking about a later date. Right? Now I want to show you guys something now. Let's go to Daniel real fast. Daniel, chapter 2.
Con. You said Daniel chapter 2?
Yes, Daniel 2. So that's what Jacob meant. A later date. Not in our time. I don't know how in the hell or the world they get a later date to our day and time. They're just going to skip all this precious prophecies in the Bible and come to our day and time. I don't understand that, right? Let's go to Daniel 2, right? Read 28, verse 28. Daniel chapter 2, and yes, verse 28.
Con, this is the book of Daniel chapter 2 and verse 28. And it reads on this wise. But there is a God in heaven that revealeth secrets and maketh known to the king Nebuchadnezzar what shall be in the latter days. Thy dream and the visions of thy head upon thy bed are these. As for
you see that? It says, but there is a God in heaven that reveals secrets and make it known to Nebuchadnezzar. We know who Nebuchadnezzar was, right? He was a king of Babylon, right? It says, what shall be in the latter days, meaning a later date. So he's showing Nebuchadnezzar what's going to happen during a later date, right? The king, he showed the kingdoms of Rome, right, and Greece, and who else? Different kingdoms that came after. So he's talking about a later date. Let's go to Daniel chapter 10. So he's even showing Nebuchadnezzar a later date. What's gonna happen in a later date or the last days. Daniel 10 and read verse 14.
Con, this is the book of the prophet Daniel, chapter 10 and verse 14. Now I am come to make thee understand what shall befall thy people in the latter days, for yet the vision is for many days.
Right? So again it says, now I am come to make thee, meaning Daniel, to understand what shall befall thy people in the latter days. For yet the vision is for many, right? Meaning the Greeks. He's showing about what's going to happen with the Romans. The second temple will be destroyed. Christ will die. All that will happen in the latter days or a later date. One more. Let's go to Hebrews chapter 1 and read verse 2. So when Jacob says, gather yourselves together, that I may tell you of what's going to befall you in the later days, is talking about in their time, not our time. Those prophecies already happened. Let's go to Hebrews, right? Chapter 1 and read verse 2.
This is the book of Hebrews, chapter 1 and verse 2. It says, hath in these last days spoken unto us by his Son, whom he hath appointed heir of all things, by whom also he made the worlds.
You see that? Has in these last days spoken to us by his Son, the Messiah, right? Whom he has appointed higher of all things, by whom also he made the worlds, right? Because we know that Christ made everything according to the book of John, right? Now, let's go back in Genesis 49. We're going to deal with Gad. I want to deal with Gad, the tribe of Gad. Genesis 49, right? Let's go back. So the last days, Jacob was talking about a later date. A later date. Not in our time. Has been that's been taught. Let's go to Genesis 49, right? Read verse 19. We're dealing with Gad, the tribe of Gad.
This is the book of Genesis, chapter 49 and verse 19. Gad, a troop shall overcome him, but he shall overcome at the last.
Okay, it says Gad, a troop shall overcome him, but he shall overcome at the last, right? Now, what I want to do here, let's go to the book of Judges. You can hold your mark right there. Let's go to Judges real fast. Let's go to Judges chapter 10. So it says, a troop shall overcome thee, but he shall overcome at the last. So let's go to Judges chapter 10. Right? When we get there, right? Hold on, let me get there real fast. Huh?
I think it's 10, 1 through 13, if I'm not mistaken.
Let me see here. Let me see here. Let's start at read verse 6.
6?
Go
ahead, brother.
Start at verse 6.
I get it. This is the book of Judges, chapter 10, and verse 6. Right. And the children of Israel did evil again in the sight of the Lord, and served Baalim and Asheroth, and the gods of Syria, and the gods of Zidon, and the gods of Moab, and the gods of the children of Ammon, Salakia, and the gods of the Philistines, and forsook the Lord, and served not him.
It says the children of Israel did evil in the sight, right? And they served Balaam, right? And all these false gods, right? Read verse 7.
Verse 7. And the anger of the Lord was hot against Israel, and he sold them into the hands of the Philistines and into the hands of the children of Ammon.
You see that? So he sold them into the hands of the Philistines, right? And Ammon. Read 8, verse 8.
Verse 8. And that year they vexed and oppressed the children of Israel 18 years. And the
How many years?
18 years.
That's a long time, right? Go ahead.
And the children of Israel that were on the other side of Jordan, in the land of the Amorites, which is Gilead.
Now, who was on the other side of Jordan? On the other side of Jordan. Let's go to the book of Numbers. It said they oppressed the children of Israel for 18 years, and all the children that were on the other side of Jordan, in the land of the Amorites, which is in Gilead. Now let's go to the book of Numbers, right? Let's see who were the tribes on the other side of Jordan. Let's go to Numbers 32. Chapter 32. Yeah, I got to get there myself. Numbers 32. They oppressed them for 18 years. That's a long time, man. Numbers 32, right? When you get there, read verses 1 through 7.
God, this is the book of Numbers, chapter 32, and verse 1. Now the children of Reuben and the children of Gad had a very great multitude of cattle.
Right.
And when they saw the land of Jazer and the land of Gilead, that behold, the place was a place for cattle. Verse 2. The children of Gad and the children of Reuben came and spake unto Moses and to Eleazar the priest and unto the princes of the congregation, saying, verse 3, Ataroth and Dibon and Jazer and Nimrah and Heshabon and Elah and Shabam and Nebo and beyond, even the country which the Lord smote before the congregation of Israel, is a land for cattle, and thy servants have cattle.
Let me stop you right there real quick. Let me stop you right there. So when the children of Israel were working their way up, right, before they crossed the Jordan, remember they smoked everybody. They smoked all the Ammonites, and they took their land, right? So the tribe of Reuben and Gad, they came to Moses and said, look, we have plenty of cattle. We want to stay on this side of Jordan. We don't want to cross Jordan. We want to stay on this side. So that's what happened. So Moses gave the Gadites and the Reubenites that land on that side of the Jordan, including the plains of Moab. The plains of Moab, the tribe of Reuben occupied the plains of Moab. All right. So that also shows you that Ruth also came from the tribe of Reuben. That's a whole nother story, though. Continue.
Verse 5. Wherefore said they, if we have found grace in the sight, let this land be given unto thy servants for a possession, and bring us not over Jordan. Verse 6.
Bring us not over Jordan. Yep, go ahead.
Verse 6. And Moses said unto the children of Gad and to the children of Reuben, shall your brethren go to war, and shall ye sit here? Verse 7. And wherefore discourage ye the heart of the children of Israel from going over into the land which the Lord had given them.
So Moses said to the Gadites, he said to the Gadites and the Reubenites, Moses said, listen, I'll let you stay on this side and take this land, but you have to go over and fight with your brethren to help them establish their land, and then you can go back. So the Gadites and the Reubenites agreed. In fact, let's jump to verse 23 and read down to verse 33.
Verse 23. But if ye will not do so, behold, ye have sinned against the Lord, and be sure your sin will find you out. Verse 24. Build you cities for your little ones, and folds for your sheep, and do that which hath proceeded out of your mouth. And the children of Gad and the children of Reuben spake unto Moses, saying, thy servants would do as my Lord commanded. You need 26 too?
Yeah, read, man, let's see here. Read 23 through 33.
Verse 26. Our little ones, our wives, our flocks, and our cattle shall be there in the cities of Gilead. Verse 27. But thy servants will pass over, every man armed for war, before the Lord to battle, as my Lord said. 28. Concerning them, Moses commanded Eleazar the priest, and Joshua the son of Nun, and the chief fathers of the tribes of the children of Israel. Verse 29. And Moses said unto them, if the children of Gad and the children of Reuben will pass with you over Jordan, every man armed to battle before the Lord, and the land shall be subdued before you, then ye shall give them the land of Gilead for a possession. But if they will not pass over with you armed, they shall have possessions among you in the land of Canaan. And the children of Gad and the children of Reuben answered, saying, and the Lord has said unto thy servants, so will we do. Verse 32. We will pass over armed before the Lord into the land of Canaan, that the possession of our inheritance on this side of Jordan may be ours. Verse 33. And Moses gave unto them, even to the children of Gad and the children of Reuben, and unto the half tribe of Manasseh, the son of Joseph, the kingdom of Sihon, king of the Amorites, and the kingdom of Og, king of Bashan, the lands which the cities thereof in the coast, even the cities of the countries round about.
You see that? So those two nations was Gad and Reuben, right? That we read about in Judges. Gad and Reuben was on the other side of the Jordan. Okay? Now let's go to Jeremiah. Jeremiah 49. Gad and Reuben, they helped the Israelites fight, right? To occupy their land, and then they went back and they dwelt on the other side of the Jordan. And they was oppressed how many years? 18 years, right? 18 years. They was oppressed, right? Meaning the Gadites and the Reubenites were oppressed for 18 years on the other side of the Jordan. Now let's go to Jeremiah 49. Yeah, Jeremiah 49. Let me get there myself. Jeremiah 49, right? And we're going to verse 1. I'm there. You can read. I'm there. Jeremiah 49 and verse 1.
You can get this, Badal.
It's the book of Jeremiah, chapter 49 and verse 1. Concerning the Ammonites, thus saith the Lord, hath Israel no sons? Hath he no heir? Why then doth their king inherit Gad and his people?
Why does he wait? Why does the king do what?
Why then doth their king inherit Gad?
Okay, go ahead.
And his people dwell in his cities.
Right.
Therefore, behold, the days come, saith the Lord, that I will cause an alarm of war to be heard in Rabbah of the Ammonites. And it shall be a desolate heap. Her daughters shall be burned with fire. Then shall Israel be heir unto them that were his heirs, saith the Lord.
Right.
How?
So, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead.
How, O Heshbon?
Oh no. I'm good, brother. You good right there. Just verses 1 and 2. So it says, it says that why then does the king inherit Gad, and his people dwell in his cities, meaning the king of the Ammonites, right? And then it says, therefore, behold, the days come, says the Lord, that I will cause to alarm of war to be heard in Rabbah and the Ammonites, and it shall be a desolate heap, and her daughters shall be burned with fire. But look what it says here. And then shall Israel be higher unto them that were his hire, right? Meaning Gad overcame at the last. It says Gad will overcome, right? I'm sorry, that Gad will be conquered, but Gad will overcome at the last. Let's go to Deuteronomy, the 33rd chapter. Yeah, Deuteronomy 33rd chapter, and excuse me, read verse 20.
It's Deuteronomy 33 and verse 20. And of Gad he said, blessed be he that enlargeth Gad. He dwelleth as a lion and teareth the arm with the crown of the head.
Right.
And he provided the first part for himself, because there in a portion of the lawgiver was he seated. And he came with the heads of the people. He executed the justice of the Lord and his judgments with Israel.
Right. So it says that Gad, blessed he that enlarged Gad, right? He dwelleth as a lion, and he teareth the arm with the crown of the head, right? Now let's go to First Chronicles chapter 5. So Gad overcame at the last by overcoming the Ammonites after they oppressed them for 18 years. That's what that means when it says a troop shall overcome Gad. It was the Ammonites. They were the troops. And then Gad overcame. Let's go to First Chronicles, right? Chapter 5. And read verse 10. In fact, read verse 10 and 11.
This is First Chronicles chapter 5 and verse 10. And in the days of Saul, they made war with the Hagarites, who fell by their hand, and they dwelt in their tents throughout all the east land of Gilead. Right. And the children of Gad dwelt over against them, and the land of Bashan unto Salcah.
So it said the children of Gad dwelt over against them, right? That's why it says Gad also stooped as a lion, and the troop overcame Gad, but Gad overcame at the last. That's why it says Gad became their hire. They used to be Gad hire, and then Gad overcame them, and they became their hire. Good. So that also goes back to Deuteronomy, the 33rd chapter, and verse 20, when it says Gad shall be enlarged, right? Matter of fact, let's go to First Chronicles 12 real quick. First Chronicles 12 and read verse 8.
This is First Chronicles.
It's not talking about no North American Indians. First Chronicles 12 verse 8.
And of the Gadites, there separated themselves unto David and to the whole to the wilderness men of might, and men of war fit for the battle, that could handle shield and buckler, whose faces were like the faces of lions, and were as swift as the roes upon the mountains.
Right. So there you go, right there. That's simple. That's very simple. Gad overcame the Ammonites, who was oppressing them for 18 years on the other side of the Jordan. That's mentioned in the book of Judges.
Let me say this real quick, Yehuda. What we're going to bring with this whole breakdown, like I said, and we're going to do some more. We're not finished. This is part of Gad. What you're going to notice is how all the tribes is going to fit in together. Yep. Right? When you see Gad, Issachar, you're going to see how everybody start fitting together and get the proper understanding of Genesis 49. Right? So it all has to come together when we start putting all the tribes together. So when you see one tribe, say, well, what's going on with that tribe? You have to remember how you're going to see how everything will start lining up. So where you with them? I just want to let everybody know when they see one breakdown, how everything will start lining up with Gad and all the rest of the tribes, how they come together, and you can hear the whole story. That's what we've been up to, the whole complete story.
Exactly. They all coincide as you see, all the tribes, Naphtali, Zebulun, Asher, Issachar. You will see they all start to coincide. The stories start to relate. Let's go do Reuben. Reuben. Can you guys hear me pretty good?
Yeah,
okay, let's go to Reuben. Go to Genesis 49 and read where Reuben at here. Verse 3. Excuse me.
These are real short parts of the tribes that we're doing. And as the lesson going, you'll see it's going to start expanding. It's going to start getting longer. So we're going to start bringing all of them together. And you'll see exactly what the story, what Genesis 49 talking about.
Yep. Go to Reuben. Let's do Reuben. Read verse 3. Genesis 49.
Reuben, thou art my firstborn, my might and the beginning of my strength, the excellency of dignity and the excellency of power, unstable as water. Thou shalt not.
Okay. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Because thou wentest up to thy father's bed, then defilest thou it. He went up to my couch.
Right. So it says, Reuben, thou art my firstborn, and might, and the blessing of my strength, right? And excellency of dignity and excellency of power. Now, in the Septuagint version, now many of you may not describe to the Septuagint, which is comical to me, because the Septuagint was translated by black Jews. In the Masoretic text, the KJV was translated by the white Masoretes. So I don't understand how you can knock the Septuagint that was translated by black Jews. Either way, the Septuagint says begotten by Jacob at his it says the first of my children in the Septuagint version. The first of my children, right? So it says verse 4, and unstable as water, and thou shalt not excel. They went up to thy father's bed, and he went up to my couch. Now on the chart, right? Who do they have as Reuben? I can't remember. Who they got as Reuben?
They got
Seminole Indians.
Seminole Indians as Reuben, right? Okay, let's go to Genesis 35 and 22. Let's see what Jacob is saying here when he says that Reuben went up to his couch. I mean, most of these guys, they know what happened. They know that Reuben slept with Jacob's concubine. Let's go to Genesis 35 and read verse 22. So they say this is a Seminole Indian that slept with Jacob's concubine, huh? A Seminole Indian dwelling in ancient Canaan, huh? with no beard, and he slept with Jacob's concubine. Let's go to read verse 22. Genesis 35, verse 22.
And it came to pass when Israel dwelt in that land that Reuben went and lay with Bilhah, his father's concubine, and Israel heard it. Now let
me see here. Yeah, that's good. Verse 22. So it says Reuben went and lay with Bilhah, right? His father's concubine, right? And Jacob heard it. Now let's go to 1 Chronicles 5:2. That's why he said Reuben is unstable as water. He's unstable.
Come. This is the
I mean,
book.
let me say something. I mean, you think about it, right? Reuben slept with his brother's mother, his own brother's mother. He was very unstable. Let's go to 1 Chronicles, right, and go to chapter 5.
Come.
You want to start at verse 1?
Yeah, read verse 1. Yep, exactly.
1 and 2.
Yep.
1 Chronicles 5:1. Now the sons of Reuben, the firstborn of Israel, for he was the firstborn, but for as much as he defiled his father's bed, his birthright was given unto the sons of Joseph, the son of Israel. And the genealogy is not to be reckoned after the birthright. For Judah prevailed above his brethren, and of him came the chief ruler, but the birthright was Joseph's.
Right, but the birthright was Joseph. So we know that because of what Reuben did, he lost the birthright. Right? That's simple. He lost the birthright because of what he did, and the birthright went to Joseph. But Judah, it says Judah prevailed above his brethren. We're going to deal with Judah later, though. Now let's go to Judges chapter 5. So how did they get Seminole Indians out of that? I have no idea, man. Anybody know? How did they get Seminole Indians out of Reuben sleeping with Jacob's concubine?
Makes no sense.
Speculation. I don't know.
They say because the Seminole Indians had dignity and excellency, and they wouldn't put Negroes in slavery when you did the 12 tribe breakdown.
Right. That's a good. That's you're right, Shawshank.
Never mind that.
So we get the Judges, right? We're gonna go to chapter 5, and we're gonna read verses 15 and 16.
Con. This Judges 5, chapter 15. And the princes of Issachar were with Deborah, even Issachar and also Barak. He was sent on foot into the valley. For the divisions of Reuben, there were great thoughts of heart.
Let me stop you there. So it says, now you see how it talks about Issachar? Just like Qanath said, as we continue, you're going to see how all of this relates. All the tribes relate. Everything that happens, it starts to come together, right? Dealing with the stories with with Jacob's sons, it all starts to come together. You're going to see as we continue, right? So it says, Reuben, it says, for the divisions of Reuben, there were great searchings of heart, meaning this here, burden of heart. That's what I mean, a burden of heart, right? Read 6, so what you just read, 15, 16? Okay, that's good. Now let's go to Deuteronomy, the 33rd chapter. Let's go back. Let's go back to Deuteronomy, the 33rd chapter. Like I said, as we continue, you will see that all the stories start to coincide. Excuse me, with the sons of Jacob.
Right.
Deuteronomy, the 33rd chapter, and read verse 6.
Yep.
Con. This is Deuteronomy 33 and 6. Let Reuben live and not die, and let not his men be few.
Right. So it says, let Reuben live and not die, and let, it says, his men be few. Let not his men be few. Right. Now let's go to Leviticus chapter 20. Let Reuben live, it says, and not die, and let not his men be few. Yeah, let's go to Leviticus chapter 20. I gotta get there myself. Yeah, Leviticus 20. And when you get there, right, read verse 10.
Con. This is Leviticus chapter 20 and verse 10. And the man that committeth adultery with another man's wife, even he that committed adultery with his neighbor's wife, the adulterer and the adulteress shall surely be put to death.
Shall surely be put to death, right? But we just read, it says, let Reuben live and not die. Did not Reuben commit adultery with Bilhah?
Con.
Right? So it says, let Reuben live and not die. And this law in Leviticus 20:10 again, it says, and the man that committed adultery with another man's wife, just as Reuben did, even he that committed adultery with his neighbor's wife, that adulterer and adulteress, they shall surely be put to death. Right? But Moses had the authority to change his law as he pleased, right? So Moses knew his law was temporary to discipline the nation, and Christ's law remains forever, right? So Reuben basically was spared. He was spared. He was supposed to be put to death.
And let me interject. We don't want some of you dumb Negroes thinking we saying all the laws are done away with. We're not saying that, right? We don't understand certain sacrificial laws, certain things, right? But you read Deuteronomy 32, 33, and 6. Reuben was spared, and you're going to find out.
And Reuben was unstable. So now let's go to the book of Numbers. Let's go to Numbers. He was a very stable individual. I mean, you think about it, right? He slept with his own brother's mother. How unstable can you be? To sleep with your own brother's mother? Number 16. Read verse 1 when you get there. This is dealing with the story of Korah. Korah's rebellion.
God, this is the book of Numbers, chapter 16, and verse 1. Now Korah, the son of Itzar, the son of Qanath, the son of Levi, in Dathan, in Abiram, the sons of Elad, in On, the son of Petah, sons of Reuben, took men.
Sons of who?
Sons of Reuben.
Sons of Reuben, they took men. Read verse 2 and 3.
Verse 2. And they rose up before Moses with certain of the children of Israel, 250 princes of the assembly, famous in the congregation, men of renown. Verse 3. Right. And they gathered themselves together against Moses and against Aaron and asked Salah, and said unto them, Ye take too much upon you, seeing all the congregations are holy, every one of them, and the Lord is among them. Wherefore then lift ye up yourselves above the congregation of the Lord.
Okay, so it's saying here that Korah led a rebellion, right, against Moses, and there was Reubenites, right? Reubenites. Now let's read verse 13. Let's jump over, right? Let's read verse 13 and 14.
Verse 13. It is a small thing that thou hast brought us up out of the land that floweth with milk and honey, to kill us in the wilderness, except thou make thyself altogether a prince over us. Verse 14. Moreover, thou hast not brought us into a land that floweth with milk and honey, or given us inheritance of the fields and vineyards. Wilt thou put out the eyes of these men? We will not come up.
You see that? They told Moses, we will not come up. So they complaining. They complaining to Moses, right? After he led them out of Egypt, right? Read verse 15 now. Let's read verse 15 through 21.
Verse 15. And Moses was very wroth, and said unto the Lord, Respect not thou their offering. I have not taken one ass from them, neither have I hurt one of them. Verse 16. And Moses said unto Korah, Be thou and all thy company before the Lord, thou and they and Aaron tomorrow, and they Salah, and take every man his censer and put incense in them, and bring ye before the Lord every man his censer, 250 censers. Thou also and Aaron, each of you his censer. Verse 18. And they took every man his censer and put fire in them and laid incense thereon and stood in the door of the tabernacle of the congregation with Moses and Aaron. Verse
Right.
19. And Korah gathered all the congregations against them unto the door of the tabernacle of the congregation, and the glory of the Lord appeared unto all the congregation. Verse 20. And the Lord spake unto Moses and Aaron, saying, verse 21, separate yourselves from among this congregation, that I may consume them in the moment.
Right. So God told Moses, and Moses told the people to separate yourselves from among this congregation, that I may consume them in a moment. Right. So now let's jump over and read verses 28 through 32.
Verse 28, and Moses said, hereby ye shall know that the Lord has sent me to do all these works, for I have not done them of my own mind. Verse 29, if these men die the common death of all men, or if they be visited after the visitation of all men, then the Lord have not sent me.
All right, let me continue. I read the rest. I'm going to read verses 30 through 32. It says, but if the Lord make a new thing, and the earth open her mouth and swallow them up with all that appertain unto them, and they go down quick into the pit, and then ye shall understand that these men have provoked the Lord. And it came to pass, as he had made an end of speaking all these words, that the ground clave asunder that was under them, and the earth opened her mouth and swallowed them up, and it says, and their houses, and all the men that appertained unto Korah, right, and all their gods. You see that? So God swallowed them up, and they was of the tribe of Reuben. They came against Moses, right? So now let's go to let's go back to Genesis. In fact, let's go to Genesis 37.
And while y'all getting Genesis 37, I want everybody to understand, like when Sham say civil war, you see the Most High even told us to stay away from Reuben at that time, right? Who was getting swallowed up at that time? That's because of the transgression of what Reuben was doing at that time. All right. And remember,
Exactly.
Moses, what? Levite. He was supposed to teach show the people the law.
Exactly. Right? And they came against Moses.
They came up against Moses.
Yep. Genesis 37, right? Somebody can read verse 18 through. I'm going to read here, but it's a reason why, right? I want to read this. We're going to read verses 17. Read verse 17 through 22.
God, it's the book of Genesis, chapter 37, and verse 17. And the man said, they are departed hence. For
I'm sorry, bro. I'm sorry. You know what? No. Start at verse 19.
Verse 19.
Yes.
And they said one to another, behold, this dreamer cometh.
Let me stop you right there. So they're talking about Joseph. You know, because Joseph kept having these dreams, right? And their brothers, they were plotted to kill Joseph, right? Okay, go ahead.
Verse 20. Come now, therefore, and let us slay him and cast him into some pit. And we will say, some evil beast have devoured him, and we shall see what will become of his dreams. Verse
they
20.
Say, here come the dreamer. Let's do away with him, right? Now look what happened in verse 21.
Verse 21. And Reuben heard it, and he delivered him out of their hands and said, let us not kill him. Verse 22. And Reuben said unto them, shed no blood, but cast him into this pit that is in the wilderness, and lay no hand upon him, that he might rid him out of their hands, to deliver him to his father again.
Now you see that? So first Reuben slept with father's concubine, right? The Reubenites also came up against Moses. So he was like up and down. He was unstable. But here you have Reuben saving Joseph's life, right? So he's saving Joseph's life. So basically, he's doing something good now, something good, right? Now let's jump down and read verse 26.
Verse 26. And Judah said unto his brethren, what profit is it if we slay our brother and conceal his blood?
Okay, continue to verse 30. Read down to verse 30.
Verse 30. Some come. Hold on, let me get my stuff together. Come and let us sell him to the Ishmaelites, and let not our hand be upon him, for he
Right.
is our brother and our flesh. And his brethren were content. Verse 28. Then there passed by Midianites, merchantmen, and they drew and lifted up Joseph out of the pit and sold Joseph to the Ishmaelites for 20 pieces of silver. And they brought Joseph into Egypt. And Reuben returned unto the pit, and behold, Joseph was not in the pit, and he rent his clothes. Verse 30. And he returned unto his brethren and said, the child is not, and whither shall I go?
You see that? So Reuben has stepped away for a little while, but when he came back, he noticed Joseph was not in the pit. And he was so distraught, he rent his clothes. Right? He rent his clothes. That's how distraught Reuben was, right? So basically, Reuben was unstable. 1 minute he was doing something unlawful, like sleeping with his father's concubine, and then the next minute he's doing something good, like saving Joseph's life. But I have a question. What do that have to do with Seminole Indians?
I don't know.
Nothing.
I don't know nothing.
That's what I'm trying to figure out, man. Let's go to now. Let's go do Joseph. That's Reuben. Reuben is done. But like I said, as we continue, you're gonna see how all the tribes start to come together and start to coincide. Let's go to Genesis 49 and 22. Now we're doing Joseph. Because I want to get through this as much as possible also.
God.
Yeah, we're gonna do Joseph now, right? Who they say is the Puerto Ricans, the Hispanics, or Joseph? They say Ephraim and Manasseh.
Yeah, Ephraim and Manasseh. They say that's counted for the tribe of Joseph. So.
Right, exactly. Now let's go to Genesis 49, right? And read verse 22.
God. This is the book of Genesis, chapter 49 and verse 22. Joseph is a fruitful bough, even a fruitful bough by a well, whose branches run over the wall.
It says Joseph is a fruitful bough by a well, whose branches run over the wall. Right? Now Ephraim and Manasseh, they were the two numerous tribes in number. Right? So by a well or a fountain is a metaphor. It takes water to grow plants, right? And the branches grow over the wall. So Ephraim and Manasseh, they overflow with people, like the branches, right? That you see attached to the walls of buildings. They had many peoples, Ephraim and Manasseh. But they say, you see, the Puerto Ricans, they Ephraim and Manasseh because they have a lot of people. They have many babies. Like Negroes didn't have a lot of babies back in the 60s and the 70s. Come on, man. Give me a break.
Right.
You know what? In that case, you might as well say the Japanese are Joseph's. Look, I mean, Chinese.
You might as well say the
Chinese. Exactly. We might as well say that the Japanese is Ephraim or Joseph.
Exactly.
So it's a metaphor, right? That's what it is, a metaphor, because they were the two numerous tribes, excuse me, of all the tribes, right? So now let's go to Psalms. Let's go to Psalms chapter 1. Psalms 1. Let me get there myself. And read verse 3.
This is the book of Psalms, chapter 1 and verse 3. And he shall be like the tree planted by the rivers of waters that bringeth forth his fruit in his season. His
You see
leaf.
that? You see? It said, he shall be like a tree planted by the rivers of waters, right? That bringeth forth his fruit in his season. So when it says Joseph is a fruitful bow, right? It's talking about also him overflowing as a tribe of people, which is true. They was like the two biggest tribes when it came to the amount of people. Now let's go back to Genesis 39 and verse 2.
Genesis. You said Genesis 39.
Yeah. In fact, read verses 1 and 2.
This is the book.
This is dealing with Joseph when he was in Egypt in captivity, right? This is when Joseph got promoted to be second in command of all in Egypt. Yeah, so read Genesis 39, verses 1 and 2.
This is the book of Genesis, chapter 39, verses 1 and 2. And Joseph was brought down to Egypt in Potiphar. What's that? Potiphar, the officer of Pharaoh, captain of the guard, an Egyptian, brought him brought him of the hands of the Ishmaelites, which had brought him down hither. Verse 2.
Right. Go, matter of fact, yeah, read verse 2. Yep, verse 2.
Verse 2. And the Lord was with Joseph, and he was a prosperous man, and he was in the house of his master the Egyptian.
So it says that the Lord was with Joseph, and he was a prosperous man, right? And he was in the house of his master. So he was a prosperous man. Also, that also links back to Joseph as a fruitful bow. Also, you're going to see as we continue, right? So now let's go. Let's read Genesis. Let's go to Genesis 45 real fast. Yeah, bear with me for 1 second. Genesis 45. Read verse 7 and 8.
This is the book of Genesis, chapter 45, verse 7 and 8. And God sent me before you to preserve you a posterity in the earth, and to save your lives by a great deliverance. Verse 8. So now it was not you that sent me hither, but God, and he had made me a father to Pharaoh, and lord of all his house, and a ruler throughout all the land of Egypt.
It said that he made Joseph what to Pharaoh?
He made him a what's that? What you meant? Verse 7.
In verse 8.
Oh, verse 8. A father.
He made Joseph a father to Pharaoh. So Joseph became the head Negro in charge of all the earth. He became over Pharaoh. He rose over Pharaoh.
Exactly.
He used
and the proof of that is.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go ahead. No, you're right. Go ahead.
No, what I'm saying is when he first became the second in command, he rose over Pharaoh.
Right. No, that's the
head
Hispanic in charge.
The head Hispanic in charge. Now let me stop playing. But no, he became the head.
Right.
Joseph became so blessed, right, that God made Pharaoh make him the father of Pharaoh.
And can I say something real quick, Yehuda? Now understand this, brothers, and everybody that's listening. What if we're going to prove something in the very next verse, the brother going to go to Deuteronomy, that
yes, sir.
You're going to find out Joseph was not with his brothers, Con.
Exactly. So
he was not
God,
with his brothers.
Exactly. But you see that though, right? Joseph rose over Pharaoh. Let's go to Deuteronomy. In Egypt. Yep, in Egypt. In Egypt, among all black people, black Hamites, Hamitic Egyptians, and black Hebrews, right? Excuse me, I have a little head cold. Let's go to Deuteronomy, the 33rd chapter.
God. Deuteronomy.
Yeah.
God.
I actually got a little sinus problem. That's going on. Deuteronomy 33rd chapter. Read verse 16. When you get there.
This is the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 33, and verse 16. And for the precious things of the earth, and fullness thereof, and for the good will of him that dwell in the bush, let the blessing come upon the head of Joseph, and upon the top of the head of him that was separated from the brethren.
That was separated from what?
Separated from his brethren.
From his own brethren.
From his
you see that? Joseph was separated from his own brethren when he was in Egypt for a while. Right now, let's go back to Genesis 49. So keep that in mind. It says Deuteronomy 33rd and verse 16. He was separated from his brethren. Now let's go back to Genesis 49, and we're gonna pick up at verse 26. Can you guys hear me?
Con.
Okay, matter of fact, I read it.
Salaki, my bad. I ain't even know my mic was muted. Salaki.
Don't worry. I read it. Genesis 49, verse 26. And it reads on this wise: the blessings of thy father have prevailed above the blessing of my progenitors unto the utmost bond of the everlasting hills, and they shall be on the head of Joseph, and on the crown of the head of him that was separated from his brethren. Right? So it's just backing up what the book of Deuteronomy says, that when he said he was separated, right? Separated from his brethren. Now let's read, jump back up, my brother, jump back up and read verse 23. Genesis 49, read verse 23.
God, this is the book of Genesis, chapter 49 and verse 20. You said 23, right?
Yes, sir.
Verse 23. Archers have sorely grieved him and shot at him and hated him.
Stop right there. It says that the archers is Joseph's brothers. Again, the archers is Joseph's, that's a metaphor for Joseph's brothers. Right? It says, so the archers, which is Joseph's brothers, they had sorely grieved him, and they shot at him, and they hated him. They hated him. Let's go to Genesis 37 and 4. You see how they hated Joseph. That's why they tried to kill Joseph. But Reuben saved him. Because Reuben was up and down. 1 minute he was doing bad, 1 minute he was doing good. Let's go to Genesis 37, right? And read verse 4.
Genesis chapter 37 and verse 4.
Yep.
And when his brethren saw that their father loved him more than all his brethren, they hated him and could not and could not speak peaceably unto him.
They could not speak peaceably unto him. So when you go back to Genesis 49:23, it said that the archers, which is Joseph's brothers, they the archers, they have sorely grieved him, and they shot at him, and they hated him. Now let's go to Genesis, the same chapter, right? Go to verse 18.
Verse 18. Scroll.
This don't have nothing to do with no Puerto Rican or Hispanics.
And when they saw him afar, Salakia, off, even before he came near unto them, they conspired against him to slay him.
They conspired against him to slay him, right? That's what it says, right? Now, jump back to verse 4. The same chapter, 37, jump to verse 4.
Verse 4. And when his brethren saw that their father loved him more than all his brethren, they hated him and could not speak peaceably unto him.
Right, they could not speak peaceably unto him, right? Let's go back to Genesis 49, verse 23.
You said 33, right?
Genesis 29, I'm sorry, 49,
23.
verse 23. That's one more time. Read that one more time.
49 and 23.
Yes, sir.
This is the book of Genesis, chapter 49 and verse 23. The archers have sorely grieved him and shot at him and hated him.
Right. So what are the archers? Who were the archers?
The brother.
His brother.
Thank you. That's it. Let's go to Deuteronomy 33rd chapter. That's a metaphor. That's all. It's a metaphor. The archers represented the brothers because they hated him.
What verse you want?
Verse 17. Yeah, Qanath, no.
Verse Deuteronomy chapter 33 and verse 17. His glory is like the firstling of his bullock, and his horns are like the horns of unicorns. With them he shall push the people together to the ends of the earth, and they are the tens thousands of Ephraim, and they are thousands of Manasseh.
Stop right there. Now I heard, you brothers probably heard it too. I heard people say this is talking about God pushing Ephraim as the leader, leading the Hebrews all the way to the Americas on ships. But wait a minute, I thought Issachar led the people. Who is it? Is it Issachar or is it Ephraim? Who led the 10 tribes? Some people say Issachar did. Some people say Ephraim did. So it says.
Then they say, well, see, they got them big ass horns on their head. The Indians.
Right. But it says again, right? With them it says he shall push the people together to the ends of the earth. And I heard him say, you see, this is talking about all the way to the Western Hemisphere. This is talking about going all the way from the Eastern Hemisphere to the Western Hemisphere. That's not what it's talking about, right? Let's go to Isaiah. When it says the ends of the earth, I'm going to show you that's not talking about on the other side of the planet. Let's go to, hold your spot right there, right? Let's go to Isaiah 41. It says Ephraim is going to push them to the ends of the earth. I'm going to show you who is Ephraim, or who represents Ephraim as we go. Let's go to Isaiah 41. Read verses 8 and 9. Whoever get there.
Israel. Salaki. I'm going to call it. This is Isaiah chapter 41 and verse 8. But thou, Israel, art my servant, Jacob, whom I have chosen, the seed of Abraham, my friend. Verse 9. Thou, whom I have taken from the ends of the earth, and called thee from the chief men thereof, and said unto thee, thou art my servant, I have chosen thee, and not cast thee away.
He said right here, Jacob, but thou Israel are my servant, Jacob, whom I have chosen, the seed of Abraham, my friend, thou whom I have taken from the ends of the earth.
That's right.
Where would Abraham and Jacob dwelling at? Were they in the America? Did they come from the Americas and come back over to the land of Canaan? Or were they living in that area of Mesopotamia and Canaan? Where were they living at?
Right.
So when it says the ends of the earth, it doesn't mean traveling from one side of the planet to the other side, because exactly. Jerusalem is the center of the earth. Let's go to Ezekiel 5. Jerusalem is the center of the earth.
5 and 5. That's right.
Everything evolves around Jerusalem. It is the center.
Hey, can I say something real quick? Some ass said, well, where's whatever tribe he said, scattered, Negro, scattered. Go ahead,
Ezekiel 5. Read verse 5.
This is the book of the prophet Ezekiel, chapter 5 and verse 5. Thus saith the Lord God, this is Jerusalem. I have set it in the midst of the nations and countries that are round about her.
This is Jerusalem. I have set it in the midst of the nations and the countries that are round about her. Jerusalem is the center, always will be, of the earth. So when it says it brought Jacob from the ends of the earth, it's talking about anywhere that's outside Jerusalem. It could be 5 miles away, 100 miles away, east, west, north, south. As long as Jerusalem is the center, you can be coming from the ends of the earth from anywhere,
Exactly.
So when it says that Ephraim and Manasseh drove them to the ends of the earth, it's not talking about from the eastern hemisphere all the way over to the western hemisphere. Now, let's deal with Joshua, right? Joshua. We know that Joshua took over after Moses died, right? In the plains of Moab, right? So Joshua played a major role. He played a major role in helping Moses, right, lead Israel to the promised land, leading Israel to the ends of the earth. Let's go to the book of Numbers, chapter 13. So remember now, Jerusalem is the center of the earth. Anywhere outside Jerusalem, no matter how far, is considered to be the ends of the earth. You go to Numbers, right? Bear with me for a second. Go to chapter 13. Chapter 13, right? And when you get there, read verse 8.
This is the book of Numbers, chapter 13, and verse 8. Of the tribe of Ephraim, O'Shea, the son of Nun.
The son of Nun, the tribe of Ephraim, the son of Nun. Now, this person named Hosea, this is Joshua.
Yep.
This is the name he had before Moses changed his name to Joshua, right? Now, jump down to verse 16.
Verse 16. These are the names of the men which Moses sent to spy on the land. And Moses called O'Shea, the son of Nun, Jehoshua, which is Joshua.
See that? Or Jehoshua or Joshua. Some translations say Joshua. Some translations say Jehoshua. But it's Joshua. So Joshua's name was Hosea, and he was the son of Nun, and he was of the tribe of Ephraim. He was of the tribe of Ephraim, right? Let's go to let's go to Numbers 27, chapter 27. Because remember, it says that Ephraim is going to drive them to the ends of the earth, right? Numbers 27. Read verse 18.
Verse 18 of Numbers 7. And the Lord said unto Moses, take thee Joshua, the son of Nun, a man whom is the Spirit, and lay thine hand upon him.
And lay thy hand upon him. Read verses 19 through 23.
Verses 19 through 23. And set him before Eleazar the priest, and before all the congregation, and give him a charge in their sight. Verse 20. And thou shalt put some of thine honor upon him, that all the congregation of the children of Israel may be obedient. Verse 21. And he shall stand before Eleazar the priest, who shall ask counsel for him after the judgment of Urim before the Lord. At his word shall they go out, and at his word they shall come in, both he and all the children of Israel with him, even all the congregation. Verse 22. And Moses did as the Lord commanded him, and he took Joshua and set him before Eleazar the priest, and before all the congregation, and laid his hand upon him, and gave him charge as the Lord commanded by the hand of Moses.
You see that? So Joshua was anointed to lead the people. He was of the tribe of Ephraim. Let's go to Deuteronomy, the 33rd chapter. Let's go back. Deuteronomy, the 33rd chapter, right? And read verse 17 again.
This is Deuteronomy chapter 33 and verse 17. His glory is like the firstling of his bullock, and his horns are like the horns of unicorns. With them he shall push the people together to the ends of the earth, and they are the 10,000s of Ephraim, and they are the 10,000s of Manasseh.
Right. So he shall push the people to the ends of the earth. Right. This is a prophecy of Joshua taking over, also from Moses, and he was of the tribe of Ephraim. Because Joseph, when you deal with Joseph, also he was a great man, and he was a fruitful tribe, Ephraim, right? That led Israel under Joshua to the ends of the earth. But however, it said that God he chose Judah.
Good.
And he also let's go to Psalm. Go ahead.
He also says he's going to Ephraim is going to be scattered throughout all the nations, throughout the whole world. You understand? Later on. So I mean, go ahead. Exactly. I mean, this is becoming very clear. Very clear. Go ahead, brother.
So how do you get the Puerto Ricans from this? That's my question.
How do you get the Puerto Ricans from Joshua leading the Israel to the ends of the earth?
You don't. Let me get a precept on this. Just one. If you, brother, go to Hosea chapter 9, verse 16 and 17. And then you can go ahead and go to the graph if you want to. Hosea chapter 9, verse 16 and 17. Because somebody said something. We're going to continue with the lesson. This is where Ephraim is. Read that.
God, this is the book of Hosea, chapter 9 and verse 16. Ephraim is smitten, their root is dried up. They shall bear no fruit, yea, though they bring forth, yet I will slay even the beloved fruit of their womb. Verse 17. My God will cast them away because they did not hearken unto him, and they shall be wanderers among the nations.
They should be wanderers amongst the nations. So ain't no damn Ephraim in Puerto Rico.
But like I said before, like I said in the beginning, right? I showed you what the last days mean. So when Jacob gave so when Jacob spoke to his sons, he was talking about what's going to happen at a later date. Not in our time. It got nothing to do with where the Jews is going to be located at.
Nothing. And then when you read, and Yehuda and brothers and sisters, when you read, right, and you open up any Bible map, right, the Most High gave everybody their land. And he also gave the 12 tribes their land, right? Exactly. We keep on talking about homeland. He didn't give us no new damn Puerto Rico, no Mexico, none of this. This is something man-made. You can see, and when you read, he tells us Simeon is between Judah, I believe, right? Exactly. He gave us our land base. Each tribe had their own land. So now all of a sudden, AREA then gave y'all a new damn Israel a new land base. Which is like,
let's go to Psalm 78, right? And read when you get there. Read verses 67 and 68.
God, this is the book of Psalms, chapter 78 and verse 67. Moreover, he refused the tabernacle of Joseph and chose not the tribe of Ephraim.
And chose what?
Chose not the tribe of Ephraim.
Verse 68.
Verse 68. But chose the tribe of Judah, the Mount Zion, which he loved.
Which he loved, right? Matter of fact, read verse 69 and 70.
Verse 69, and he built his sanctuary like the high palaces, like the earth which he hath established forever. Verse 78, he chose David, also his servant, and took from the sheepfolds.
Right. So Joseph's time has passed as a leading tribe, because led by also the son of Nun, which was Joshua. So basically, their time has passed. Now it was time of Judah. It was Judah's time to rule, right, with David and also the Messiah, right? So basically, that's pretty much it for Joseph. That's pretty much it. right? It just showed you that when it says the ends of the earth, it's not talking about coming over here, and it's talking about also that that Ephraim would push the Israelites to the ends of the earth. That's talking about Joshua. That's talking about when Joshua was leading the people and Ephraim, because they were the most numerous of the tribes.
You know what, Yehuda? If y'all notice, we ain't going outside a whole lot of damn books talking about on, right? If we want to look at certain Indians in America, let's talk about the ones with the bones in their damn nose and the ones walking around back in the day, butt naked, ass showing like they're showing. Let's talk about them with no drawers on, no fringes. Let's talk about them.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. Let's go do Benjamin.
Yeah, let's
go.
I'm
sorry, go ahead. Let's do Benjamin now. Let's go do the tribe of Benjamin. I want to do Benjamin. Let's go to Genesis 49. Now this is funny right here when they talk about Benjamin.
Yeah, that's funny, man. That's funny.
How they bring how did they get Jamaicans out of Benjamin? Oh.
Man,
Genesis 49.
That's crazy too, because when you look at it, because some tribes chart says the Jamaicans and the West Indies, but when you look at the West Indies, it covers Puerto Rico, all these other tribes. So how did y'all do that? How do y'all pinpoint certain tribes out of all this? The West Indies, if I'm not mistaken, includes Haiti, if I'm not mistaken.
Exactly.
How do y'all leave out from that?
Exactly. How did AREA come up with the tribe of Benjamin being Jamaican? Genesis 49 and verse 27.
This is Genesis chapter 49 and verse 27. Benjamin shall raven as a wolf. In the morning he shall devour the prey, and at night he shall divide the spoil.
It says, Benjamin shall raven as a wolf. In the morning he shall devour the prey, and at night he shall divide the spoil. Right? So they say this is the Jamaicans singing reggae and Big Mama shaking it in the dance hall.
I thought they probably would have said that's the Jamaicans getting up in the morning smoking weed.
Listen, man, I'm telling you, I heard it. I heard him say, he said, listen, this means that the Jamaicans sing reggae, conscious music. I said, what the?
Ask the Dutch on the left-hand side.
They said Benjamin raving as a wolf is singing reggae. I heard it. I heard him say it. Amazing, man. Let's go to the book of Judges, man.
Let's go to
with Big Mama in the reggae club shaking her behind. That is Benjamin raving as a wolf.
Come on. You can't be.
I heard it. I'm telling you, I can't make this up. I heard it. I heard him say it means that they sing conscious music and Big Mama in the club, getting down in the club.
Right.
The book of Judges 19, right? Hold on a second.
1 through 5.
I got you. Come on. This is the book of Judges, chapter 19 and verse 1. And it came to pass in those days.
You want that? You want that?
Bear with me for a second. Bear with me for a quick second. Read verse 1. The book of Judges 19, verse 1.
This is verse 1 of the book of Judges. And it reads on this wise. And it came to pass in those days when there was no king in Israel, that there was a certain Levite sojourning on the side of the Mount Ephraim, who took him a concubine, Bethlehem, Judah.
Read verse 2 also. Verse 2.
I read this the other day. Verse 2. And his concubine played the whore against him and went away from him unto her father's house to Bethlehem, Judah, and was there 4 whole months.
Okay, read. So this is God. This is a Levite. He had a concubine, right? And it said, but look what it said, they sojourned on the side of Mount Ephraim, because the Levites were spread among all the tribes, right? Read verse 3.
Verse 3. And her husband arose and went after her to speak friendly unto her and to bring her again, having his servant with him and a couple of asses. And she brought him into her father's house. And when the father of the damsel saw him, he rejoiced to meet him.
Okay, now jump down to verse 9. Excuse me. Verse 9.
Judges chapter 19 and verse 9, and reads on his wise. And when the man rose up to depart, he and his concubine and his servant, his father-in-law, the damsel's father, said unto him, Behold, now the day draweth towards evening. I pray you tarry all night. Behold, the day groweth to an end here, lodge here, that thine heart may be merry, and tomorrow get you early out of your way, that thou mayest go home.
Okay, so you got this concubine and this Levite, right? They're where they located again? They say they were sojourning, right? It's out of Bethlehem, Judah, right? It says here, verse 9 again. And when the man rose up to depart, he and his concubine and his servant and his father-in-law and the damsel father said to him, Go. It says, Behold, now the day drew up towards evening. I pray you tarry all night. Behold, the day grew up to the end, large here. And thine heart may be merry, and tomorrow get ye early on your way, and thou mayest go home. Now let's jump down to verse 16 to 20.
We're in Judges 19, right?
Yep.
This is Judges chapter 19, verse 16. And behold, there came an old man from his work out of the field at even, which was also of Mount Ephraim. And he sojourned in Gibeah, but the men of the place were Benjamites.
The men of the place were who?
Benjamites.
Those Benjamites, right? Read verse 17.
And when he had lifted up his eyes, he saw a wayfaring man in the street of the city. And the old man said, Whither goest thou, and whence comest thou? And he said unto him, We are passing from Bethlehem, Judah, toward the side of the mount, the mount of Ephraim. From thence am I, and I went to Bethlehem, Judah. But I am now going to the house of the Lord, and there is no man that receiveth me to house.
Stop right there. So they telling this man who's also a Benjamite, they said, we're traveling, but we don't have any place to stay. Right? Continue to read verse 19.
Yet there is both straw and provender for our asses, and there is bread and wine also for me, and for thy handmaid, and for the young man which is with thy servants. There is no want of anything.
Read verse 20.
And the old man said, Peace be with thee. Howsoever, let all thy wants lie upon me. Only lodge not in the street.
So this old man, he see this Levite and his concubine. He said, No, I don't want you to stay in the streets. He said, Come lodge at my house. He said, I don't want you to stay here in the middle of the street, right? Read verse 21.
So he brought him into his house and gave provender unto the asses, and they washed their feet and did eat and drink. Now, as they were making their hearts merry, behold, the men of the city, certain sons of Belial, beset the house round about, and beat at the door, and spake to the master of the house, the old man, saying, Bring forth the man that came into thine house, that we may know him.
Now, right here, let me stop you. So now this old man brought this Levite and his concubine inside the house, right? So now you have these Benjamites. They come into this man's house. They knocking on his door saying, that man that you let inside your house, bring him out that we may know him. That we may do a ISUPK on him. That's what they said. They said, bring him out that we may know him. Meaning they want to have sex with this man. Because they was ravening wolves. That was ravening wolves. That's why it says in Genesis 49, Benjamin is going to be a ravenous wolf. Right? So it said, bring him. It said, read that one more time, verse 23.
Now,
Verse 22. Verse 22.
Now, as they were making their hearts merry, behold, the men of the city, certain sons of Belial, beset the house round about and beat at the door, and spake to the master of the house, the old man, saying, bring forth the man that came into thine house, that we may know him. Bring forth that man that went inside your house. We saw him go inside your house. Bring him out so we may know him. Basically, ISUPK be talking about, right? Right.
They want to do ISUPK.
Yeah, they want to do ISUPK. They want to do that buck thing. Verse 24. Behold, here is look what he said. The old man said, behold, here is my daughter, a maiden, and his concubine. And he said, them will I bring out now, and humble ye them. He says, and do with them what seemeth good unto you. But unto this man do not so valid things. He said, I'd rather for you to take this concubine instead of this man, right? Verse 25. But the men, these Benjamites, would not hearken unto him. So the man took his concubine and brought her forth unto them, and they knew her. See, they knew her and abused her all the night until the morning. Go back to Genesis 49, where it says Benjamin. What verse was that again? Genesis 49 and 27. Somebody pick that up for me. Genesis 49, 27.
Con. Benjamin shall raven as a wolf. In the morning he shall devour the prey, and at night he shall divide the spoil.
Right. At night he shall divide the spoil, right? And it said divide the prey, right? Let me read verse 25 again. But the men, these Benjamites, they would not hearken to him. So the man took his concubine and brought her forth unto them, and they knew her and abused her all the night until the morning. And when the day began to spring, they let her go. So these Benjamites, they abused this woman all night. Verse 26. And then came the woman in the dawning of the day, and she fell down at the door of the man's house. It says where her Lord was till it was light. So she came back to the house after they finished abusing her all night. I'll read verse 27 through 30.
Con. Verse 27. And her Lord rose up in the morning and opened the doors of the house and went to go his way. And behold, the woman, his concubine, was fallen down at the door of the house, and her hands were upon the threshold. And he said unto her, up and let us be going. But none answered. Then the man took her up upon an ass, and the man rose up and gat him unto his place. And when he was come,
go ahead.
And when he was come into his house, he took a knife and laid hold on his concubine and divided her together with
he did what?
And divided her.
He divided her, right?
Right.
Continue to read.
And divided her together with her bones into 12 pieces, and sent her
12 pieces. Go ahead.
And sent her into all the coasts of Israel.
Stop right there. So this Levite, he discovered after they abused her all night, his concubine, those Benjamites abused her all night. What he did was he cut this woman's body parts up and he sent her body parts through all the tribes to show what the Benjamites did, because they was ravenous wolves, right? Read verse 30. Right.
Here come the civil war.
Exactly. Read verse 30.
And it was so that all that saw it said, there was no such deed done nor seen from the day that the children of Israel came up out of the land of Egypt unto this day. Consider.
Go ahead.
Consider of it. Take advice and speak your mind.
You see that? They said after this man cut up her body parts and sent it throughout all the tribes. They said they had never seen nothing like that since the day that they came out of Egypt. They never seen nothing like that before. So what happened is all the tribes got together and they fought the Benjamites. They fought them. Matter of fact, let's start at
so you mean,
20, right?
you mean Israel fought Israel? They fought the 11 tribes fought Benjamin?
Exactly. So now
Civil War?
Exactly. Civil War. Exactly. But now you see how the Benjamites was raving wolves, man. They wanted to have sex with that man. They said, bring him out that we may do a ISUPK on him. ISUPK, that we may know him. Judges 20, right? Read verse 1.
This is Judges 20:1. Then all the children of Israel went out, and the congregation was gathered together as one man, from Dan even to Beersheba, with the land of Gilead, unto the Lord in Mizpeh.
Okay, hold on for a second, because it's a lot of reading here. I don't want to read all this stuff. Basically, when you read it, right, it gives you the story of all the tribes coming together to fight the Benjamites, right? Matter of fact, let's skip over now. The same chapter 20. Let's go to verse 32.
Verse 32. And the children of Benjamin said, they are smitten down before us, as at the first. But the children of Israel said, let us flee and draw them from the city unto the highways.
We continue to read verses 33 through 36.
And all the men of Israel rose up out of their place and put themselves in array at Baal Tamar, and the liars in wait of Israel came forth out of their places, even out of the meadows of Gibeah. And there came against Gibeah 10,000 chosen men out of all Israel, and the battle was sore. But they knew not that evil was near them. And the Lord smote Benjamin before Israel. And the children of Israel destroyed of the Benjamites that day 25,000 and 100 men.
How many Benjamites did they kill?
25,000 and 100 men.
That's a lot of men, man. That's a lot of men. Read verse 36.
So the children of Benjamin saw that they were smitten, for the men of Israel gave place to the Benjamites, because they trusted unto the liars in wait which they had set beside Gibeah. Okay,
jump down. You folks can read most of Judges on your own. Judges 20. Let's jump down to verse 44.
Verse 44. And there fell of Benjamin 18,000 men. All these were men of valor.
You see that? So basically, the Israelites, they almost wiped out the Benjamites.
Right.
They became the less number of all the tribes. Now let's go to Judges 21, the next chapter 21, and read verse 1.
And it came to pass on the morrow that the people rose early and built there an altar and offered.
Wait. You had the book of Judges, Judges 21, chapter 21?
Judges 21, and you said verse 4?
No, verse 1.
Verse 1.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
1 through 25.
Now the men of Israel had sworn in Mizpeh, saying, there shall not any of us give his daughter unto Benjamin to wife.
You see that? So they swear we will not give the Benjamites our or the daughters to wife. Continue reading. Read verse 2 and 3.
And the people came to the house of God and abode there till even before God, and lifted up their voices and wept sore, and said, O Lord God of Israel, why is this come to pass in Israel, that there should be today one tribe lacking in Israel?
You see that? So they felt sorry for the tribe of Benjamin. Even though they almost wiped them out, the men of Benjamin, they felt sorry for them. That's why it says, O Lord God of Israel, why is it this come to pass in Israel, that there should be today one tribe lacking in Israel? Read verses 4 through 6.
And it came to pass on the morrow that the people rose early and built there an altar, and offered burnt offerings and peace offerings. And the children of Israel said, Who is there among all the tribes of Israel that came not up with the congregation unto the Lord? For they had made a great oath concerning him that came not up to the Lord to Mizpeh, saying, He shall surely be put to death. And the children of Israel repented them for Benjamin, their brother, and said, There is one tribe cut off from Israel this day.
You see? Read verse 7. Verse 7.
How shall we do for wives for them that remain, seeing we have sworn by the Lord that we will not give them of our daughters to wives?
You see that? So they concerned about the Benjamites lacking as a tribe and not having enough wives to reproduce, right? Now we're not going to read verse 8 and 9. Read verse 10.
Verse 10. And the congregation sent thither 12,000 men of the valiantest, and commanded them, saying, Go and smite the inhabitants of Jabesh Gilead with the edge of the sword, with the women and the children.
Read verse 11 through 12.
And this is the thing that ye shall do. Ye shall utterly destroy every male and every woman that hath lain by man. And they found among the inhabitants of Jabesh Gilead 400 young virgins that had known no man by lying with any male. And they brought them unto the camp to Shiloh, which is in the land of Canaan.
So they brought all these virgins to the camp because of they want these Benjamite men to have women so they can reproduce, right? Because the Benjamites was almost destroyed as a tribe, right? Read verse 13 and 14.
And the whole congregation sent some to speak to the children of Benjamin that were in the rock at Ramon, and to call peaceably unto them. And Benjamin came again at that time, and they gave them wives which they had saved alive of the women of Jabesh Gilead. And yet so they sufficed them not.
Okay, so they gave them wives, right? Let me read verse 15. And the people repented. They repented them for Benjamin, because that the Lord had made a breach in the tribe of Israel. Now read verse 21 and then jump down to 23.
Con.
No, matter of fact, read verse 20 and 21.
Con. Therefore they commanded the children of Benjamin, saying, Go and lie in wait in the vineyards, and see, and behold, if the daughters of Shiloh come out to the dance and dances, then come ye out of the vineyards, and catch you every man his wife of the daughters of Shiloh, and go to the land of Benjamin. You want verse 23?
Okay. You just read 20 and 21, right?
Yeah, 21.
Okay, verse 23. Yes.
And the children of Benjamin did so, and took them wives, according to their number, of them that danced, whom they caught. And they went and returned unto their inheritance, and repaired the cities, and dwelt in them.
You see that? So the Benjamites was given wives to reproduce, but because of that war, they was almost wiped out. They was like the smallest tribe among all the tribes, right? In fact, let's go to 1 Samuel. 1 Samuel chapter 9. But you see how the Benjamites was waving his wolves, right?
Con.
That they buy the spoil, right? That's what that's talking about. They're not talking about the Dennis Brown reggae artist in the club singing while Big Mama is shaking. That's not talking about that.
Right. They want to rape.
1 Samuel Yaikwa, right? 1 Samuel and chapter 9, read verse 21.
I'm sorry, say that again. I was busy.
1 Samuel chapter 9, verse 21.
All right, Con. And Saul answered and said, Am not I a Benjamite, of the smallest of the tribes of Israel?
Of the smallest of the tribe of Israel. Didn't we just read that the Benjamites almost was destroyed? That's why this is why Benjamin during the time of Saul was the smallest tribe. Go ahead, continue.
and my family the least of all the families of the tribe of Benjamin. Wherefore then speakest thou so to me?
Okay, I just want to show you to have confirmation that even during the time of Saul, he knew that the tribe of Benjamin was the smallest tribe because they was almost wiped out when they had a civil war. All because of those Benjamites trying to rape that man, and they killed that concubine. Let's go to Deuteronomy, the 33rd chapter. Read verse 12 when you get there.
This is Deuteronomy 33 and 12. And of Benjamin he said, the beloved of the Lord shall dwell in safety by him, and the Lord shall cover him all the day long, and he shall dwell between his shoulders.
So it says that Benjamin shall dwell in safety by him. Now I heard what's the name? The brother Alazar Sakari, he said in a video that when it says Benjamin dwelling in safety, it's talking about Jamaicans dwelling in safety during hurricane season.
They wildin'.
How
the hell you?
I can't make this up, man. I'm telling you. He said this means the Jamaicans dwelling in safety during the hurricane season. Listen, man, I know many Jamaicans
Making it up.
in New York City, right? Jamaicans always got hurricanes. Always for years they've been having hurricanes. What do hurricanes have to do with Benjamin dwelling in safety? Let's go to 1 Kings.
What they going on?
1 Kings chapter 11. It says Benjamin dwelling in safety, right? Now we're going to see why it says Benjamin will dwell in safety. After all Benjamin did, God still had favor with Benjamin.
Bring it out. Here we go.
And they're going to dwell. They're going to dwell in safety. Let's go to 1 Kings. I mean 2 Kings. 1 Kings chapter 11. Qanath know where I'm going. 1 Kings chapter 11. Read verse 36 when you get there.
This is 1 Kings 11, verse 36. And unto his son I will give one tribe, that David my servant may have a light always before me in Jerusalem, the city which I have chosen me to put my name there.
He says, let me read it one more time. And unto his son will I give one tribe, that David my servant may have a light always before me in Jerusalem, the city which I have chosen me to put my name there. So what tribe was David given?
Benjamin.
Benjamin. But it says Benjamin is going to dwell in safety, right? Now how is Benjamin going to dwell in safety? Hey, Shoshan, do me a favor. While we're going to the next verse, right? Pull up that map that says Benjamin. I sent it to you. It says Benjamin.
Okay.
Yes, go tell you.
I also sent it to your cell phone just in case.
Let's not forget Benjamin and the West Indies, as they said. How the hell?
Right.
Yeah, that's comical, man. Yeah, Benjamin. When you get a chance, pull that up, my man Shaw. While he's doing that, let's go to 1 Kings chapter 15. After all Benjamin did, all the wickedness they did, they was almost wiped out as a. That's it. Thank you. They was almost wiped out as a tribe. God still had favor with Benjamin. In fact, do me a favor, bro. Read. Let me see something here. Read 1 Kings 11 one more time. Go back to 1 Kings 11, chapter 11. And read verse 36 one more time.
All right. And unto his sons will I give one tribe, that David my servant may have a light always before me in Jerusalem, the city which I have chosen me to put my name there.
Right. So that tribe was Benjamin, right? That was given to, because it says, I would give one tribe for Judah, right? Etc. And David. Now let's go to 1 Kings chapter 15 and read verse 4.
Con. Nevertheless, for David's sake did the Lord his God give him a lamp in Jerusalem, to set up his son after him and to establish Jerusalem.
It says, nevertheless, for David's sake did the Lord give God, the Lord his God, give him a lamp in Jerusalem to set up his son after him, and to establish Jerusalem. Right? Now let's go to Psalms 31. Psalms chapter 31, and when you get there, read verse 1. I'm sorry, Psalms 91. Did I say that? Psalms 91, verse 1.
This is the book of Psalms, chapter 91 and verse 1. He that dwelleth in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty.
Okay, so he that dwelleth in the secret places of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. What is the secret places? The secret places is Jerusalem, Mount Zion. Now let's go back to Deuteronomy 33 real fast.
Hey, I want to smell this face oil.
Deuteronomy 33rd chapter. Let's go back real quick. When you get back there, right? Read verse 12.
This is Deuteronomy 33 and 12. And of Benjamin, he said, the beloved of the Lord shall dwell in safety by him, and the Lord shall cover him all the day long, and he shall dwell between his shoulders.
Right. So the beloved of the Lord, Benjamin, joined to Levi, right? To Levi because of the priest and where the temple was located in Jerusalem. Right. Now let's go to Joshua 18. Joshua chapter 18. I gotta get there myself. When you get there, right? Read. Hold on. Let me get there myself. It's Joshua 18. Read verse 11.
Come.
This is the territory of Benjamin. Read verse 11.
And the lot of the tribe of the children of Benjamin came up according to their families, and the coast of their lot came forth between the children of Judah and the children of Joseph.
Right. Now read verse 28. We're still dealing with the lot of Benjamin. Read verse 28.
And Zalah, Eleph, and Jebusi, which is Jerusalem, Gibeath, and Kirjath, 14 cities with their villages. This is the inheritance of the children of Benjamin, according to their families.
According to their families, right? Read verse 28 again.
And Zalah.
Read it slow. Verse 28. I don't think people caught this. Read verse 28 one more time, but read it real slow.
Khan. And Zalah, Eleph, and Jebusi, which is Jerusalem.
Which is what?
Which is Jerusalem.
Okay, Shawshan, do me a favor, bro. Blow that map up. Blow it up real quick. Thank you. That's good, right there. Now, when it says that Benjamin shall dwell in safety, it's because Jerusalem was located in Benjamin. Jerusalem was Mount Zion. That's where God dwelt. And that's where the Levitical priest offer sacrifices, etc., and abide in the temple and Jerusalem was located in Benjamin. So when it says, after all Benjamin did, after all the wickedness that Benjamin did, God says that they would dwell in safety. This is the reason why. It got nothing to do with no damn hurricanes hitting Jamaica. They dwell in safety, or they dwelt in safety, because Benjamin was located inside, Jerusalem was located inside Benjamin.
Hallelujah.
So Benjamin was always protected. Why? Because the temple of the Lord was inside of Benjamin.
Good. And you know what? The sad thing? We gonna go into some because we starting out with the easy part, because we know this is a hard spell for brothers and sisters to get over. This is like a 30-year spell that's been casted over the planet Earth with this 12-tribe chart, and it's hard to get out of the psyche. Oh, what else can it mean? Because you heard that, and you kind of find out it has nothing to do with the scriptures at all. Nothing.
Exactly.
Anyone that's watching this live can actually break this down if you just read it. They're like it's such a mystery. Like we said earlier, when you just like this map you're looking at, this is in the Bible where he give all the tribes their own land. There is no new land that he's given us. Right? When he come back, we'll get that fresh land. But right now, this was our dwelling place at that time, that map you're looking at. And he's breaking it down to you about the blessings and the cursing and what the tribes done in Genesis 49 and Deuteronomy 33. So we went over this before. We hope you, I don't know how many more scriptures you got, because we've been going for 2 hours now. How many tribes did we do so?
I got one more for
okay,
Benjamin. For Benjamin. Mm-hmm.
Go ahead. No,
yeah, so this is the reason why Benjamin dwelt in safety.
Mm-hmm.
Because Jerusalem was in Benjamin.
Good.
Now let's go to Psalms 7. Psalms chapter 7. This is going to be the last verse for Benjamin. So Benjamin was a ravenous wolf because of what they did. Those Benjamites, that was wicked. They tried to have sex with that man. We want to do an ISUPK. And then they raped that woman. They killed that woman, that concubine.
We'll do a yaiquab. Right.
So after they killed the concubine, the Levite, his concubine, he cut up her body, and he sent her pieces of her body throughout all the tribes, so they can see what the Benjamites did. And all the tribes got together. They almost wiped out the Benjamites. But they still dwelt in safety after all of that. God showed favor with Benjamin. After all of that, they still dwelt in safety.
That's right. It's right there, brothers.
That goes to show you that God is He's merciful to anybody. I don't care what nationality you are. I don't hate Hispanic. I don't hate nobody. But I hate lies. Psalm 7. Let's go to Psalms chapter 7. Hey, my man. Psalm 7, right? What do your subtitle says? Right above Psalm 7.
It says Shigayon of David.
Read that.
Shigayon of David, which he sang unto the Lord concerning the words of Cush the Benjamite.
Of who?
Of Cush the Benjamite. Of
Cush the Benjamite. Now, some translations say Cushi. Cushi means black, right? There was a Cushi also in 2 Samuel and Jeremiah and Zephaniah. Zephaniah's father.
What verse? What chapter verse? What book of verse?
This is Psalms chapter 7. This is the subtitle. Read the subtitle one more time, my brother. One more time.
Qanath. Shigayon of David, which he sang unto the Lord concerning the words of Cush the Benjamite.
The Benjamite. Some translations say Cushi. Cushi and Cush means black. Like Zephaniah. Zephaniah's father's name was Cushi because he was a black man. Also, if you write this down, you folks can write this down. 2 Samuel chapter 18, verses 21 through 31. You can read about another brother named Cushi or Cush. Also in Jeremiah chapter 36, verse 14, another Hebrew brother named Cush. It means black. That's what it means. But this Cushi here,
go ahead, brother. Go ahead and kill it. Go ahead, man. This
particular Cushi here, this guy here, it indicates this in the book of Psalms, right? Was written while David was being ruthlessly. This guy was pursuing David, right? He was ruthlessly pursuing David. This guy here, right? And he was one of Saul's radical kinsmen. So he was a Benjamite pursuing David. That's why David says in the subtitle, which he sang unto the Lord concerning the words of Cush the Benjamite. So right. Just go to show you that the Benjamites was waving as wolves.
Good.
So that's it. That's it for Benjamin. That's it.
That's it. Let me say this. All praise to the Most High. A beautiful lesson. Beautiful reading. People in the comment board, man. We love you, the moderators. Lima, Larry, Flyer, Star. See Takia, Chocolate City, Lovely. It just goes on. Most High bless all of you. And let me say this. This is very Yehuda and I. We actually maybe 30 lessons behind that we've been doing behind the scenes. And every time we say we're going to put this up, we end up getting to another lesson. Even dealing with the Euphrates. How many lessons we back? We haven't even done. We done, but we haven't brought out on the video yet on the Northern Kingdom. You think? I don't know if you can hear me. Yeah, but I mean, we just got so much, man. I just hope y'all enjoy this. We, like that song say, we only just begun. You know,
yeah, we just begun, right? Exactly.
We're gonna finish up. We're gonna do more tribes, and Judah is gonna knock everybody's socks off, and it might bring tears to your eyes. It's just so many that's gonna, what they saying is just so untrue, man. And for anybody talking about Ephraim is where it is, you read Hosea 9:17, I think 16 and 17, it was scattered all over. Beautiful breakdown. Anybody want to say anything?
What I want to do next time, right? We're going to do Issachar, Zebulon, Asher, Naphtali, and you're going to see how they all relate. How it's going to all come together.
And
we say Judah and Levi for last.
Exactly. So Zebulon, we're going to do Zebulon, Issachar, Asher, Naphtali.
Right.
Con.
Oh, let me say this real quick. A lot of people say ain't nobody listening to us, but people listen to us. Let me say this is very important here. People always talking about y'all start a discourse. Well, you saw how we read about Reuben, right? How some of them went down into the pit, right? The Most High told us to separate ourselves from them, right? We read about Benjamin, about Qanath, y'all creating a separation. You see, we killed how many if you remember the scripture, Benjamites, right? Because they wanted to pull an Ashubk and a Yaiquab, right? And we almost wiped them out. That's your civil war. Talk about you creating separation and strife. No, Israel always had that. The Most High was use other nations to use Israel to straighten out Israel.
Hey,
like
Luke,
he said, start with Israel first.
Elder Qanath, I think Luke, what's that, chapter 12, verse 51, that tell you Yahawashi came to cause a division. He said he didn't come to bring peace on the earth. He came to bring a sword. So he came to cause division. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Hey, look, brothers, Qanath, look, bro, I got to get up early, bro, and to drive to Brooklyn, man. So I'm going to get some sleep.
You're going to get some sleep, bro. We're going to holler at you. Shalom. I'm going to get off in 2 minutes. I'll talk to you tomorrow. Yeah, I get with you. We'll talk.
The water, brother.
The water.
So let me say this real quick. Also, people say nobody listening. I got 2 whole camps contacting me, right? And said they leaving because they hate the lies and they want to know could they be a part of this family. So I said, or this body, I said, "Cunt." Oh, so with that, Shasham, y'all want to finish up? Anybody want to say anything before we close out?
I'm cold, but this was an excellent class, though. You know, I'm glad y'all brought it out finally. So I'll say that. Most High bless for everybody coming on. Thank you to all the moderators, all the supporters. Thank you to everybody who's donating and keeping the stream y'all going. And thank you for all the love and support.
Shashan, when you gonna announce the date, the address of the Passover?
Next week, I'll put up the address and the place of the Passover in Baltimore for everybody to know.
And get a donation. Put up the donation so everybody want to make a donation.
Yeah.
All praises.
Right. Shalom, grace and peace.
Grace and peace.
Grace and peace. Shalom.
Okay. So yeah. So we pretty much done, right?
Yeah, we done. Let's go ahead. Yeah, we done.
All right. Well, shalom, y'all. Most High bless. See y'all back here for Sunday Night Fire. Thank y'all.
Shalom.
Shalom, y'all.
Shalom.